Welcome to the Downer Difference, the podcast where we explore the stories and the people behind Downer's success. Through our discussions, we'll uncover how our high-performance culture drives outcomes, how we deliver for our customers, and support each other to enable communities to thrive. My name is Mary Donohoe, and I'm here in the studio with my co-host, Elaine Turi. Welcome to the Downer Difference podcast. Elaine and I are joined in the studio today by our group CEO, Peter Tompkins. Thank you for coming back, Peter, for season 2.
Well, as they say, thank you for having me back.
To get us started, we wanted to find out in your time as CEO, what in leadership has surprised you? And can you share a moment that's really shifted how you lead?
Well, so if I start with the general and then answer the question in a particular way, what shouldn't surprise me is just the authentic leadership that sits across all of our businesses. And it shouldn't surprise me, but I'm constantly surprised and amazed the dedication of our local leadership. And then if I think about your question in the context of having a group role, what has, I guess, surprised me or what I've learned is that leadership needs to change, and I've become a lot better at being able to see the context of leadership, and having so many great people leaders in the organisation, understanding that context and providing our group of leaders with the consistency of language and focus is something that I've learnt the power of, even since we caught up last time.
Well, last year on our podcast, you talked to us about a book. I think it was called Make Your Bed. Yeah, I think about that every morning.
And do you make your bed every morning?
I do, yes. I'm like, if there's one thing I need to come home to, it's like a tiny bed.
It's the easiest one to tick off, and you leave home already a winner.
Yes. So is there any particular leadership trait that you're working on currently?
Always thinking about that context of leadership, and always looking to double check that I'm closing loops on leadership topics of interest that will help connect everybody in the organisation with that sort of consistency of language and priority. And sometimes that means just being really aware of conversations you have with groups of people, like we have had here over the past 24 hours with 150 of the senior leaders in Downer, and now thinking about how I can use those messages, those themes, the emotions that were playing through the conversations to engage others in the organisation so that we get the consistency in leadership across Downer.
Thank you.
And we had a few presentations as well and case studies about leadership and operational excellence. When was a moment where you were like, wow, this is what leadership at Downer looks like?
Oh, it's watching just how authentic, but actually probably a better word, how humble. Leadership in a Downer currency is just awesome humility, and it's the way in which the quiet achievers inspire teams to do incredible things. And we saw that with a number of our contract and project managers, and we've seen it time and time again through the Downer Difference Culture Awards.
Thank you.
We're moving from transformation to sustainable growth. What does that look like day to day for you?
Well, for Downer, in the context of going through a fast-paced transformation, it's about understanding the sequencing of being able to grow in the right way. And so, for Downer over the past two or three years, it's been about back to basics. It's been about reinforcing cultural, foundations, values, being clear on strategy, being clear on portfolio, being clear on, commercial and risk appetite, operational excellence, all of those things that you would expect in a high-performing organisation as a given, but being clear that it is in place. And we spoke earlier today about earning the right to grow. And, I think we're at a point now where the organisation has the right to grow. However, it has the responsibility to grow sustainably. And for us, that means, making sure we're working with customers where we can add value and being really clear that we can help them with their objectives and also ensure that we're growing within our risk guardrails as well.
And talking about the customers, so how do we make sure that those customers, they see Downer not just as a contractor, but as a strategic partner?
Yeah. Look, I think, the reality of, being an infrastructure services provider is you need to be both. And I think, we have learned how to walk and chew gum at the same time because we have a contract, we negotiate terms, but then what happens is our teams work in partnership with our customers across all of our industries. We build trusted relationships and both can work in harmony. And, I think we've got hundreds and hundreds of real life examples where we do that really well. And I think over the past couple of years as well, we've been clear on our strategy and therefore we've been clear on the areas where we can add value. And I think we've now got that really neat alignment with our existing customer base.
Actually, so surfing again on one of your words, value, right? What's one way you've reframed the conversation recently, maybe with a customer or someone internally, from cost to value?
Well, again, I think it's about having both sets of discussions, but in a sophisticated way, where you can identify whole of life cost, whole of life availability, efficiency, and the way in which customers can think about getting to the same outcome through an asset management solution. And we see that time and time again. And the best way to do that is having existing relationships, existing arrangements, and we adjust the frequency in which we do things, and we can bring that thought leadership to how we get exactly the same outcome at a lower, inverted commas cost, but with a really neat win-win outcome.
How do you manage to keep the customer at the centre of the strategy when the financial and operational pressures can be very high and potentially competing?
Yeah, look, I don't know any organisation that doesn't have to think about, growth, values, revenue, cost, operational objectives, a whole range of stakeholders that are putting pressure on the organisation, whether it's public or private. And so I think there is always a shared understanding, whether it be a government customer who has accountability and responsibility for certain end user outcomes, just as we have certain responsibilities to our stakeholders, our shareholders, our management teams. I think it's about having that understanding of each other's positions. And then I think you can actually just get in and look at, if it's an asset lifecycle solution, what is the driver? Is it local industry participation as well as an end product? How's our customer being measured? What are the KPIs which, really matter to them? And then all of a sudden you've shifted a discussion from just being about, revenue, cost, expense to value creation. And you can get to those really good outcomes.
That's great, thank you.
And I suppose a high performance culture like the Downer difference makes a real difference in what we're delivering. So talking about cultural shift, what do you think we're going to have to shift in the next 4 to 5 years to remain competitive?
Well, I think what we've had to shift in the past 3 years has been painful at times. And, we've had, business leaders come and speak to our leadership group about, emerging trends, changes and challenges. And what I've reflected on is our organisational context, given, the demands around, budgets, infrastructure constraints, needing to get to outcomes really quickly, cost pressures, they're not unique to Downer. And so I think we need to have that ongoing heightened focus on operational excellence, which I think every organisation now is just taken as a given. I think the most important thing is to have a current strategy that is identified and I guess in a way appropriately caveated as being, an aspirational plan of where you want to get to, and being okay when it turns out to be different, and constantly rebaselining, and then at the same time looking at Horizon 2 to say, well, with what we know now, what do we need to be doing to be successful? And that idea of a 3-year, 5-year planning horizon doesn't really matter. In my mind, it's just to set the ambition for the organisation so that people can deliver today, but also invest in the next horizon. And it doesn't really matter. We need to know that we're having the conversations, we're doing our best with AI. I don't think we need to be worried about it. I think we just need to keep up and challenge ourselves, and to be listening to what others are doing and implementing that. I think the bigger picture right now in Australia and New Zealand is quite unique, with all of the global uncertainty, energy transition that is racing on, the responsibility that we've got to Department of Defence to support strategic white paper, quite unique challenges at a state and federal government level.
Right.
So I think these are the macro trends that all organisations are looking at, and we've just got to have a view of where we want to get to, knowing what we know now.
What are you most proud of as CEO of achieving in the last 12 months?
Oh, that's an easy one. It is the 12-month anniversary of the Downer Difference.
Oh, great.
Ooh, here we are.
And so, having gone through a 12-month period where we've connected, owning it, and in owning outcomes, doing it for our customers and standing for each other, and actually linking that to strategy. So I spoke before about, having an aspirational plan. Strategy is great, but the Downer Difference actually allows us to be real in the way that we lead our teams and to prioritise what we want to do. And then just so importantly, recognise people that have achieved outcomes that are consistent with strategy, but done in line with our values.
And for those who don't know what the Downer Difference is, you can go on our website. So 12 months of the Downer Difference. So Mary and I, when we prepared that postcard, we were like, interesting to ask that question. So is there any idea that you once resisted that actually you are now championing?
Look, you asked me last time what I've learned about being in the most privileged position leading an organisation like Downer. And what I learned really quickly was the ideas and the insights that our 26,000 people have. I've learned to constantly be looking for those areas where I may have had an initial resistance to, and being open to being challenged. And, I think one thing that we've done or are starting to do well in the organisation is to set up groups where we can have open, honest discussions where we all test and challenge each other. So, I can sort of hand on heart say I've changed my mind heaps rather than being resistant to change. But, again, because you've got the right foundations with the right people to have good, honest discussions on how to prioritise, our scarce resources, really.
I think I've been a witness of that a couple of times this year.
Is there a trend in infrastructure that you think businesses might be underestimating at the moment?
The trend is, the one that I don't think we fully understand the impact of is scarcity of skilled labour.
Right.
So, technically orientated skills that support energy transition before you even think of, what's happening with growing and aging population with housing. It trickles all the way through infrastructure. And I think you can have whatever conversations you want around planning, regulation, removing red tape. The biggest one is having a skilled workforce that can deliver, what are a series of high priority plans that we don't have the resources to deliver in the time frames needed.
That's good. What's one thing you wish people understood about leading Downer that's actually not in the annual report?
Well,
I love that question, by the way.
It's a great question. Because what I was thinking about as we closed our leaders conference is imagine if your customers and your stakeholders and your shareholders
would have been in the room, right?
Could have been a fly on the wall in that room. But it's if I could capture one moment from the couple of days we've had here, it's the look on people's faces, those that have been in the organisation for a short period of time or, career lifers, just that sort of awe of, what we do, how we do it, the breadth of our capability, truly inspiring. And you can't illustrate that through words or pictures.
Peter, it's a curly question for you. Do you have any blind spots, and who in the organisation is tasked with challenging you with them?
Oh, well, Helene will tell me, give me good real-time feedback, don't you, Helene?
Always. That's part of the job, isn't it?
It is part of the job. Look, yeah, I think you're if you don't acknowledge your blind spots and the areas where you're relying on teams and colleagues for support, then you don't have leadership teams. And I think that's the beauty of organisations like Downer, where we have teams of people that support each other. I look not just to members of our group leadership team to test and challenge me. I think it goes back to that earlier comment that I get good feedback from people right across the organisation. And I think that's one of those aspiring sort of, behaviours that you want to see in a high-performance company.
Is there a book that you'd like to share with our listeners that you've read this year that you thought was very helpful? A podcast you've been listening to?
My daughter's text, The Hate You Give.
Oh, yes.
That was an amazing book about prejudice in America and understanding, your background and what holds people back that you don't necessarily have clear insights into. And I think you constantly need to be reminded of inclusion and belonging when it's different to your own experience. And so that was a great one, and it was a great text for young people to read as part of curriculum.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Peter, for joining us today. We'll see you next year.
Can't wait.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to The Downer Difference on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and be sure to share it with your colleagues. The video version of this podcast is available on YouTube.